It's always a good time to have a new film stock to talk about, this time from a manufacturer in Germany called Orwo. Over the past year, Orwo has teased a brand new color film stock that they're going to be releasing in the future, and finally, they unveiled it in a really interesting way. Let's talk about it. So just a couple sentences about who Orwo is. Back in 2022, Filmatech and Innoviscope began releasing new film stocks under the historical Orwo name. And it was just after that that Orwo announced the introduction of two new film stocks to the market. A new black and white film stock for still camera use, NP100, and a new color cinefilm stock called NC500, used the ECN2 process. And this would give cinematographers an alternative to the normal, traditional Kodak Vision 3 that everyone uses now. And eventually, NC500 was released in 35mm rolls, and it wasn't too long after that that we got similarly titled NC400, just 100 ISO slower. And ever since we got NC400, film photographers have been looking for what the next release from Orwo may be. And for the longest time, details were pretty hard to find, that is, until now. In a recent Instagram post, Orwo Film posted this: "Thank you for coming to see us at the photography show. You've got one last chance tomorrow. Such a great weekend connecting with Orwo fans, both old and new. It's your last chance to stock up on Orwo film stock at a steal. Catch our friendly team at stall C48 tomorrow. And check out our cool hologram, which has something worth announcing." And the hologram they're referencing showed this. The new film stock was released via this holographic display that they had set up. And these are the first additional details that we've had since Nico's photography show announced that they were working on something last year. And if you look closely at the hologram, you can see it tells you exactly what it is, and it's NC200, another color negative film in the vein of NC400 and NC500 that came before it. And while they didn't provide any specifics on this new film stock, we got the reveal of the box art, and it's good to know they're working on something. And I think it's safe to say as well that we can point out a few things just by the nature of the things that have came before it. By looking at NC400 and NC500, I think we can make some pretty safe deductions about NC200. If you look at both NC400 and NC500, they have a pretty subdued color palette. And both of those film stocks were supposed to be designed by, or at least inspired in some part, by AGFA motion picture stock from years prior. And what Orwo's interpretation of the prior AGFA formulation of these motion picture film stocks, it resulted in a look that's very subdued, very desaturated. It's kind of a vintage color palette, so to speak, very pastel. And you can see from some of these images that I'm showing now from NC400 and NC500, they have a lot in common. This is very similar to what Kodak does with their Vision 3 films. These are cinema films after all. If you're going to be changing film stocks on set due to differing lighting, different exposure values for each shot, you want the look to be pretty similar. You want the film to look pretty similar shot to shot. You want the colors to be largely the same. And because this is supposed to be another film in the cinema line for Orwo, I think we can expect pretty consistent colors here as well. So NC200 should look a lot like NC400 and NC500, desaturated, muted colors. That's what we're looking at here. Another thing that's important to know is this is a slower speed film. It's ISO 200 versus the ISO 400 and 500 of the previous film stocks. And I made a video not too long ago about Portra 160 versus Kodak Portra 400 and some of the differences between the two films. And while their colors were very similar, Kodak Portra 160 was just a little bit cleaner. And that's actually borne out in the data sheets. So if you take a look at the data sheets, you can see the Kodak Portra 160 is actually a little higher resolution film than Portra 400. So we can't know for sure, but it certainly stands to reason, given what we've seen from other film stocks from other companies, that when a film loses speed, the grain size shrinks and the film becomes a little more higher resolution. So I think that's something we can expect as well. If you like the look of 400 and 500, if you've got a little more light, you should probably consider shooting 200 because it'll be a little sharper. And then I think another thing that we can deduce is the price. Looking at their previously announced film stocks, NC500 and NC400, NC500 from Orwo's website is $20 a roll. NC400 is $22 a roll. I think it stands to reason that NC200 is probably going to be in that ballpark. And obviously you can find these film stocks cheaper from other retailers out there, but from Orwo's website, they're priced at about $20-something a roll. NC200 should probably be in that same ballpark. But what does all this mean? We're getting another color film stock. We're getting another option out there to help us contend with Kodak's color film monopoly. Orwo stepping up big time, continuing to produce cool, interesting new film stocks. So let me know in the comments, is Orwo NC200 something you're going to be interested in shooting? Let me know. And if you're interested in that video where I compare Kodak Portra 160 to Kodak Portra 400, take a look at this. But as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.